Joining us now live from Virginia Beach, a delegate, former councilman of Virginia Beach, former veteran. Well, you can't be a former veteran. You are a veteran. And also businessman, entrepreneur, Bill DeSteph. Great to have you with us, Bill.
Thanks, John. How are you doing this morning? It's a beautiful day out there.
It's a beautiful day without Eric Holder, isn't it? We're so excited. Good riddance. Can't wait for the guy to get out of there. I can't remember in history when I've been so jubilant that somebody quit their job. It's like I've got a spring in my step. I'm fired up. I even don't feel like blasting the Gillespie campaign today. I mean, what does that tell you?
That's pretty good. And I mean, if you look at the front page of the paper, gas is under $3 for real.
Well, what about the gas is under $3? But Delegate DeSteph, we do have a transportation package that passed. Part of that's going to get funded by the e-fairness bill, which is languishing in Chairman Bob's Goodlet's top desk drawer. Because everybody knows I'm for that because I think that mom and pop businesses are getting screwed because there's not a level playing field. And we've got now tax policy picking winners and losers. But here's the bottom line. The gasoline tax we have is set to go up 45% if we don't get this thing through. And so the days of gas under $3 are soon to end in Virginia. What's the story with this?
Well, just kind of like you said, the e-commerce bill, which does set up a level playing field. So if you're going on the internet and buying stuff from outside of the state, they would have to pay taxes. Virginia state taxes, and that's at the federal level. That's has to pass there. So that would truly create a level playing field with the mom and pops who have the brick and mortar buildings and pay taxes within the state of Virginia for everything they sell.
What I can't understand about this bill, the argument I've heard from those that are not in favor of simply leveling the playing field and making things even and not screwing the Main Street businessman, which we all know is the backbone of America anyway. The arguments are convoluted. It's like, well, there'd be this federal tax in 50 states, and, we'd add a new tax, and we can't do that, and it's all convoluted, and, we'd have all this paperwork and red tape, and, the guy that's starting the internet company from his house, and that's nonsense. At the end of the day, the only thing this protects, Bill, is big venture capitalist internet companies with multi-million-dollar warehouses sitting outside of Virginia. So the arguments, like we had your colleague on, Delegate Glenn Davis the other day, and we were debating this issue. Like you, he's a House of Delegates freshman. He's on the other side of the issue, and he's giving me all this double talk and gobbledygook about some guy in his garage starting a website. That's a bunch of crap.
Well, actually, a guy can start a website in his garage, and if folks from Virginia are buying from his website or folks from outside of Virginia are buying from his website, he should be paying the state sales tax on those items that he's selling. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing hard to do about that. It creates a level playing field with others out there.
Okay, so let's get to Medicaid expansion and how we're going to fix this system. You guys had your special session last week. You had a solid debate. Of course, Medicaid expansion again went down. I don't mean to get you sideways on this debate here with Glenn Davis, but he was on. He's trying to expand it somehow. I didn't really get that piece of it. That went down. What are your plans? What is your vision for fixing Medicaid in Virginia?
Well, let's first dissect where we are. It's truly an expansion of Obamacare, and we have businesses who are paying anywhere from 23%, which is the lowest I've ever heard of, to upwards of 170, 180%. The lady who cuts my hair in Richmond works at the, I guess I probably shouldn't say that, which hotel, but she also has cut a bunch of governor's hairs all the way back.
Right.
And I talked to her. She makes $36,000 a year. She is on the MCV plan. The most interesting thing is she paid about $340 per month with $1,000 deductible. She goes in across the street. She applies for Obamacare. Her deductible goes to $6,000 a month. I'm sorry, $6,000 a year, and her monthly fee almost doubles, or more than doubles. It was over $700 a month. So you look at this and you say, all right, here's somebody that this would truly bankrupt. You can't live. And her comment is, I either don't eat or I don't pay my rent. Which one should I do? And when she brought it up to the lady who was helping her fill out the paperwork online and all that stuff.
The navigator.
Yeah, one of the advocates. The advocate said, well, you're eligible for food stamps once that happens, and you're eligible for TANF grants. And she's like, well, why would I even work? And she goes, well, you don't have to work. We'll make sure you have health care. She goes, well, wait a minute. I've worked for my entire life since I was 14 years old. Why would I ever want to, stop working just to have health care? That makes no sense. And the truth is that a single woman without children would not get Medicaid until she's over 62 or 65. So she probably wouldn't get Medicaid anyways. And in Virginia Beach, we have the Beach Health Clinic, which is probably one of the most efficiently run health centers for those who can't afford a regular doctor. And whether you like it or not, my parents, when I was very young, did not have health insurance. My grandparents didn't have health insurance until later in life. It's not an entitlement. It is truly, it's something you work for, like a car or a house. You're not entitled to those. It's something you work for. Now, I understand on the other side, everybody deserves to be taken care of when they're sick. Well, there are backstops for that. Mm-hmm. Beach Health Clinic is a good example. And if you're really, really sick and you're about to die, then we have the emergency rooms for emergency-type medicine for those who can't afford it, as well as those who can afford it. That's what an emergency room is for. But I've had a great year in the House so far. I'm on finance. I'm on cities, counties, and towns. I'm on science and technology. I'm the chairman of the newly stood-up Emerging Technologies Subcommittee. I'm on the Joint Commission of the Administrative of the Rules, JCAR. I'm the vice chairman of the Manufacturing Development Commission as a freshman. I've had a fabulous year, and I think that part of the reason that we've had this debate and there's such divided sides, you've got basically two-thirds of the House voting against Medicaid expansion because, the argument is we won't get the money we've paid in. And I look at it this way. Our government, for every 45 cents they collect, I believe these are the statistics, don't quote me exactly, but for every 45 cents we're collecting, we're spending 55 cents of borrowed money. So if you think about what we pay in, that $2 billion is just $2 billion we're going to have to borrow at the federal level. The biggest threat to our national security today is our national debt. Mm-hmm. It's not something we can spend our way out of.
Right.
So when we get back to your Medicaid expansion, it doesn't make sense to do it with what's been provided in front of us. If I were king for a day, the first thing I would do is I'd repeal Obamacare because, as I remember, they said if you have your health insurance, you can keep your health insurance, and they said that the average person would pay $2,500 a year. I don't know anyone who's paying $2,500 a year for health insurance, but they said that the health insurance would go down. Every company, every business, everyone I've talked to, their health insurance has gone up. So it's obviously not working. We obviously have to pull back, reevaluate what we're doing, go back to the way we did it before, and then come up with a better idea. Because what we've provided at this point is going the wrong direction completely.
Well, the thing is, Delegate DeSteph, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, was never meant to be a solution for health care coverage or health care in the United States. It was a politically motivated operation in order to transfer wealth, expand entitlements, and take an entirely new swath of Americans and put them on the dole, make them dependent on the government for something. And if they're dependent on the government for something that they were not dependent on in the past, then you can sign them up and they can vote for the person with a D by their name that are going to continue to expand the operation. So it was made to just gain votes for Democrats. We all know that now. The example you gave with the navigators, I can give you 100 of these examples. I had one in my own family. We applied. It was like $10,000, so I had to go outside after they canceled mine. I had a family member of mine who was in her 20s who has a part-time job. She applied, and she would have been almost 100. She would have been 100% covered, so 100% subsidy. And I never got a phone call back. They followed up with her 50 times to try to sign her up. The whole thing is a scam. Okay, that's why we have another 10 million people food stamps today that we didn't have when Obama took office. So, conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican, what we all have to start to do, Delegate DeSteph, is stop the nonsense and the gibberish and just tell the truth. The truth of the matter is this thing was never meant to solve anything to do with your health. It was meant to sign up more Democratic voters and transfer wealth.
I wish that would have been the message that was put out, but the message that was put out by the administration, even Nancy Pelosi, was, we just have to pass it. We don't have time to read it.
When you cut the nonsense out, to Delegate DeSteph, and you look at this thing, and you look at some of the provisions in it, including the navigators, giving all these people jobs that are basically Democratic Party foot soldiers and operatives. Then you look at the bailout that's in there for the insurance companies. Basically, they guarantee the insurance companies a federal bailout if they have to go forward and they're not profitable. So to get the insurance companies to buy into this crap, which they knew had nothing to do with getting better care, better coverage, they put in there basically a bailout clause. Now, some Republicans are trying to take that out, and Boehner, McCarthy, Morris they didn't want to deal with that before the midterm. So the deeper you get into this thing, it is a complete fraud on the American public. They say 8 million people signed up, 6.5 of them aren't paying anything. 1 million of them are illegal immigrants. Another million falsified their documents. This is the biggest scam in U.S. history, and we're actually sitting and trying to have a legitimate debate over whether or not this makes sense. Don't you find that to be absurd?
I do, and where else can you sign up for a subscription to something like the newspaper or your cable bill and not pay the bill and get the service still?
It's
kind of crazy.
The whole thing is
hey, let's go into a pizza place, order a pizza, not pay the bill, and still expect to have that pizza.
No, actually,
not good.
You don't pay the bill, and then you get extra toppings. I mean, the whole thing is ridiculous. We're out of time. We want to thank DeSteph for being with us. He represents the 82nd District, Virginia Beach, in the House of Delegates. He's a Republican. Hey, Delegate DeSteph, one other thing.
Yes, sir.
Aren't you the first freshman in the history of the General Assembly to chair a committee?
I know it's been a long time. The Speaker has said not in his reign, but I know, or not that he's been aware of, but I know it's been a long time since you've had a freshman as a chairman of anything other than making sure the bathrooms were clean, and a vice chairmanship of manufacturing development. So it truly is an honor. And one of the things, a lot of things we're looking at under emerging technologies are everything from biotech to exoskeletons, unmanned autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars, self-parking cars, laser headlights, cryptocurrencies, hydrogen vehicles, and refueling stations. And what you really have to do is understand that from that standpoint, we've got to lay out the policy to make sure that when these businesses and technologies come into Virginia, we've created the policies and legislation so they can operate in a free market environment and become successful. Imagine that, having your policies laid out in advance of the technologies coming in so you're not trying to stop something from happening. And you can let businesses create an environment where our businesses can thrive and our families can thrive. Hey, imagine that. Isn't that a great idea?
Planning, it's a beautiful thing. What a novel idea in politics today. We want to thank Delegate Bill DeSteph for being with us. Thanks, man.
Hey, thank you, John.